Hi, I'm here with Jerry Trupiano, broadcaster. Jerry, thanks for taking the time.
Glad to do it.
Jerry, what did you think of last season? It was pretty tough. Pitching was going down there. Do you think that some of these kids like Paulie and Hanson, they weren't ready mentally yet, or do you think that it was a good idea and just kind of something that they had to do anyway because they just didn't have the bodies?
Well, I think in Craig Hansen's situation, he probably was rushed up here a little bit, and some of that has to go to his agent. These guys now sign contracts when you're a first-round pick saying that, oh, yeah, you'll be in the big leagues within a year. And some of these guys aren't ready. I don't think he was physically ready or mentally ready, and I hope it doesn't retard his development. David Paulie is a pitcher who really pitched well until he made that error in New York in that game against the Yankees, but he's a guy who has to be absolutely perfect. He doesn't have the overpowering stuff. So, I think perhaps some of those guys were forced into the fray a little too soon, and we'll see what happens down the road. But Hansen's got a world of talent. He just has to put it together.
Yeah, obviously he has the pitching speed and all that, 90s. Paulie, I like this kid. He's from Double-A. They kind of threw him up to, the majors last year, and then he went back to Triple-A and then back, I noticed they do have a program now, the Red Sox, where they're Boston College, in fact, about a week ago, where part of their program is not just a matter of, their skills, but also mentally, how to handle the press, how to do different things like that. What is some of the things that you found last year as positive for the Red Sox?
Well, I think last year the defense was outstanding when you had Mark Loretta at second base and you had Alex Gonzalez at shortstop. Of course, both those guys are gone. I thought Kevin Youkilis developed into a pretty good first baseman.
Is that a surprise?
Yeah, I think to take to the position as quickly as he did was a bit of a surprise. But Mike Lowell was Gold Glove caliber at third base. I thought those were positive. We'll see how Julio Lugo does and Dustin Pedroia in the middle infield this year. I don't think they'll be anywhere near as good a defensive club as they were. You win in baseball. Certainly you have to score runs to win, but you win with pitching and defense too. And if the pitching is there, it will overcome some mistakes. You go back to the 04 season when they won the World Series, the offense was such a juggernaut that overcame a lot of mistakes. But when they won, when they went to that series and came from behind against the Yankees, their pitching was there. Derek Lowe won a big game. Pedro Martinez, Kurt Schilling. Look what they did against the Cardinals with their pitching. They won the last game. What was it, 4-0? Yeah, and you just have to have the pitching. So that to me, if their pitching comes through this year, they should be in pretty good shape. I don't know if the offense will be as good, but when you have Manny Ramirez and David Ortiz in the middle of the lineup, you got a chance.
And now they have J.D. Drew. Apparently, they have found a way to sign him.
Now all they got to do is keep him healthy.
That's all they have to do, which makes me wonder, should they have somebody do you think Pina will be playing some to kind of preserve Drew's, shoulder and wear and tear?
They like William Pena, but here's a guy who strikes out too much.
Yeah.
I mean, they talk about light tower power, but you have to make contact. The hitters have to control the strike zone the same way pitchers try to control the strike zone. To me, he's a guy who's got a lot of holes. He's got a lot of talent. Whether or not he can take that next step, make the adjustment to cut down on the strikeouts and come up with enough contact to be a contributor, we'll see. He had a big injury last year. He really struggled in winter ball this year, so we'll see what happens.
Now, what about Lugo? You mentioned Lugo. Now, obviously, they knew Gonzalez is a top caliber shortstop. They knew that he wasn't a top hitter. Many shortstops aren't, to be honest with you. For power or anything. They're, usually it's their range and stuff.
One, about 3 or 4 years ago named Garcia Parra.
Yeah. But now he's a first baseman. But who can figure, right? You never know in baseball. It's a crazy game. But what do you think, though? Lugo, they've been after him for about 3 years. Is this kid really that good at,
To me, he's an offensive shortstop. He's gonna steal some bases. He's gonna hit a few triples. He's not gonna hit for much power or drive in many runs. But he is a guy who hopefully will get on base at the top of the order to set the table. again, you go back, not the second guess, but you go back 2 years ago, they had Johnny Damon, one of the premier leadoff hitters in the game. And I hope they don't fall into that old trap, where they're trading defense for offense. It was unfortunate they got rid of Ron Jackson, the hitting coach. The previous 3 years, they were setting all kind of records for offense, and then they have one down year, they get rid of the hitting coach. To me, that doesn't make much sense.
Any insight on why they got rid of Jack? He was well respected by the players and everything. Any comment?
I wish I knew why. I mean, they didn't tell us anything. I mean, this regime wasn't big in the way of previous regimes telling us their thinking and what have you. But Ron Jackson, to me, is an outstanding hitting coach. And because the team struggled offensively 1 year out of 4, to get rid of the hitting coach doesn't make much sense.
What about this kid at second base they got, Peretta? Do you think? You think he, was it a mistake getting rid of Loretta?
I like Mark Loretta. He was a terrific hitter, could turn the double play with the best of them.
Remind me of Jerry.
Huh?
Remind me a little of Jerry.
Jerry Remy? He's not as fast as Remy. Remy will tell you that. But no, again, maybe it was a financial thing, because here's a guy who's arbitration eligible, who's been a veteran, so maybe he had to do a little due to money. He was snatched up right away by the Astros, and again, I guess they want to make room and show that their player development people are doing a job and giving Pedroia a chance. We'll see how he makes out. He's got to play second base. He doesn't have an arm for shortstop, so Pedroia has to play second base. We'll see how he turns to double play. If they're giving up extra outs, which they didn't do last year with Loretta and Gonzalez, that'll hurt that pitching staff.
Absolutely. And speaking of the pitching staff, Jerry, what do you think of, Lester? Thank God he's coming back from his unfortunate illness. What do you think? Where will he be in the mix now? Because you got so many pitchers now. I mean, and we're not even talking about the other pitcher that got hurt last year, whose name was the kid that was out most of the season last year.
Starter?
Yeah, starter.
Oh, let's see. They had Wakefield. They had Schilling. They had Beckett. Who are we missing? Now you got me wondering too. It had to be a right-hander, right?
Yeah.
Don't remember.
But anyway, regardless, they have. We'll skip that. We'll edit that one. They have quite a bit of pitchers. What's good thing is that they do have 4 kids that are 26 years old, and this Japanese kid. Is there too much hype on this 26-year-old? I mean, he's never pitched in the majors. How's that compared to? How's the Japanese league compared to our major leagues?
It's good baseball, but there's bigger, stronger players over here, and we'll see. We'll see. The kid apparently has a lot of talent. You see, he's going to have to go through an adjustment period. Whether or not he's the answer, we'll have to wait and see. But there's an adjustment for the American League, for the American players going to Japan. Certainly there's an adjustment for the Japanese players coming to the U.S. So they spent a lot of money on him, so he better perform.
Yeah. What do you think also of this kid they got from Seattle who's going to close now? Is that a mistake?
He's never closed before. He's been a starter. He's a guy who a couple of years ago had an outstanding season. Really struggled last year. We'll see. They're rolling the dice with a lot of people. I told Jonathan Papelbon a little bit earlier, they'll bet you a soft drink you wind up the closer again. He says, well, I'm going in as a starter. I'm going to give it my best shot. He was an all-star closer last year, so we'll see what happens.
Well, that's another thing you wonder is if maybe, they've spruced up their bullpen now where Jonathan might not have to throw as many innings if he had to be a reliever. He threw 2 or 3 innings compared to a normal reliever in the 70s where like Gossage or Lyle, they just came in 1 inning. And
Bruce Sutter won the Hall of Fame last year. So,
what do you think, too, of this steroid thing? I have to ask you, McGuire, will he ever make it in?
I hope so, because believe me, I won't give you any names, but I think just as many pitchers were on steroids as position players, and maybe more. And I hope McGuire gets in because he helped save baseball in 1998.
He did. Him and Sosa, who is trying to come back with Texas.
Right. I hope Mark gets in.
What are some of the things what are your plans this year?
No baseball apparently in 2007, so we'll just see what happens. We're out looking for work. Hopefully, keep your fingers crossed we'll find one.
Well, I don't think with your reputation, Jerry, you're going to have any trouble with that. We want to thank you for stopping by.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
All right.